Hello everyone and welcome to Enlightened Conversations. My name is Raul Angelic Messenger and author, and I am here joined once again by the beautiful, effervescent, psychic to the multiverse, award-winning 6th generation psychic medium, Jacquelene Clothmore. Welcome.
Hello Raul, and thank you for inviting me, and hello to everyone watching.
And we're on a roll because I just been a guest on Jacqueline's program Soul Star Radio that you can see that on Facebook. It'll be on replay a little bit later on. Just go to Soul Star Radio, the Facebook page, and you will see us there chatting to some people from London, from the US, and giving them some readings. And now Jacqueline is paying the favor back to being on Enlightened Conversation, and we are beautifully joined here once again by the only female pharaoh.
Yes, well, why not?
I'm all for it because I love her, and I think that she brings a beautiful energy into everything that we do here in this particular environment. We are surrounded. You cannot see. Oh yes, you can.
You can see one of them.
One butterfly there, but we have them all over the ceiling, the walls. It's quite amazing. Jacqueline, as you know, in Enlightened Conversations, we tend to talk about different topics. The topic that I want to bring to your attention today, and I will give you my version, but I'll let you go for it because I know that you're going to take it to where it needs to go. The buzzword at the moment, everybody's talking about it, ascension. So,
Assembly!
yeah, so I'll leave that with you and then I'll give you...
Let's assemble to the heavens. Dos amigos.
Yeah.
Si casa, su casa. Yeah. Kind of frightening. Oh dear gosh, I could speak forever, but I just sometimes get mind blown. You know, I've been around in this field publicly, professionally since 1995.
You do the math.
Yeah, and that's a long time ago, and it's been exciting, and I'm always humbled by the different things that go on here, but sometimes I'm just plain old mind blown and speechless. And you know, I remember the days back even in the 90s. I remember the world is going to end, man. 2YK, yeah. And you know, there's like this mothership behind the dark side of the moon, and it's just waiting for us, and my rank and serial number on that ship is blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, look, you know, I sometimes speak to Arcturians, and you know, we don't really speak so much as but this is weird even for me. And you know, and about that time I was hearing about breatharians.
Yes.
I don't eat, Raul. I breathe the sustenance into the multiverse, multiplex of my solar plexi, which is a multiverse and pluralistic version of solar plexus. Not really, but you know, it's that ridiculous. And I was actually being relayed a story of one of my friends back then. The next door neighbour, actually, we were living on what was a super highway for the ghosts. It was sort of like a ley line between our houses. It was kind of weird, you know. We had traffic, like, you know. Oh. Anyway, so we would have these funny chats, and she'd go, and then I went to a Reiki workshop, but it was really great, except that the teacher said that she was a breatharian and the second master, and you know, and she said she doesn't have to eat anything at all. And then we caught her going, eating all this stuff in the closet, and we said, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "This is an offering for the Ascended Masters. And I'm not actually, I don't need the sustenance, but this is my way of giving an offering. This food is not going to me, it is going to the Ascended Masters as a gift and sacrifice, because I don't actually eat anything." And I thought...
Remember, sorry to cut you off, but it just came to me. Remember Little Britain? The sketch when she was doing Weight Watchers, and she was saying, "People, you need to eat dust."
Yeah, dust.
And then she will go under the desk.
Fiber in that.
She will go under the desk and eat and come up with chocolate all over her mouth. And I thought that's hilarious.
Yeah, look, ascension. Look, I do believe that we evolve spiritually, and it's great stuff and all this sort of thing. But I call BS on all of this. I just sort of think, look, you know what? You don't need to call yourself this way up here thing. We're all, you know,
we're traveling.
Same level. We're traveling. we're all perfectly imperfect, and we're seeking perfection, some of us, and some of us may think we're already there. And in so doing might have forgotten everything, who knows. But maybe they really are perfect. I mean, who am I to
judge?
I mean, a real self-mastered person isn't going to go, I'm self-mastered, there are no answers. They're actually going to go, okay.
What is my next question?
What's my next question? And if you come along and say, I know everything there is to know, and you say that to a self-mastered person, they're going to go, okay, run away with that. Here's the microphone. They're just going to let you speak. Or they might just decide that they actually want to go and eat something, as against the breatharians. Nothing against breatharians, but hello. So, I think the thing is, if you keep it real, then you can ascend spiritually, but just remember to keep the feet on the ground.
Yeah, and
gravity.
And on that point, I was remember another movie. I was remember the movie Notting Hill, when the character was being matchmade by friends, and he was meeting all these women at a dinner table, and one of them saying, I'm a fruitarian. And he goes, what does it mean? I only eat fruit that it fell from the tree. That carrot that you're eating is being murdered. And that sort of thing, that it's, okay, let's live down here. Let's live in reality. Hi, Maria. Let's understand that we are souls living a human experience. And to me, when somebody throws that word ascension around, the first thing that comes to mind is the word W, which I'm not going to spell out.
I think of fairy floss myself.
Yeah, okay. Fluffy. And the idea is, and I love fairy floss, and I think that fairy floss is actually magical.
Isn't it?
Don't tell me that comes from a machine.
No,
it's magical. I can see it, and it's magical. However, I still have the reasoning, don't get confused. But what I talk about ascension, to me, is truly about sharing.
Yep.
Let's share my experience, let's share your experience, let's walk together in our pathway for as long as we need to walk together, and when we need to go in separate ways, let's go, but in a peaceful way, without having to be upset because something is actually ending, and it's not truly ending. We're actually going to meet other people that we need to meet, and that's true ascension. And you were saying, feet on the ground. The other day I was at Federation Square, and I found what is called the Nook, across from the Ian Porter Center, and it's a room like this where people go and you have books, and you can share books, take a book, bring a book. And I thought, brilliant, I'm going to bring my books and leave them there for people to read and share. And you sit there, and people come in, they smile, but there's no noise.
Yeah.
They sit there, they want to relax. I saw a lady meditating, and then there was somebody else just grabbing a book and reading, or somebody on the phone, whatever you need to do. That little nook, that little space in a city that is so busy. And then I thought, okay, enough of the nook, I need to go botanical gardens. And I put a picture on Facebook saying grounding, because I sat under a beautiful oak tree, feet barefoot on the grass, and connecting with Mother Nature, because you know what? Mother Nature, we give her manure, and it gives us flowers.
Yes.
So you know what? Feet on the ground and send the rubbish down.
Yeah. If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down.
And that's what I was doing through my feet, flushing it all down.
That's it.
Because Mother Nature is so generous that it will take it and it will transmute it. How do I hear you asking? Well, let me tell you. Have you heard of oxygen? And it's a really good thing, because you know what? That's what trees actually give us. They actually transmute the carbon dioxide that we're expelling into beautiful oxygen. So get out there, people. That's true ascension. And I'm not asking you, if that's not what you feel like, hugging trees. If you're not a tree hugger, not an issue. But if you are, go for it. But simply just connecting. That's when true ascension, in my opinion, actually takes place. It's not about trying to be an ascended master, because if you were one of those, you and I wouldn't be talking here.
No. We'd be called Gumby. That's what I like to call it. I've actually got a picture over behind Raul here of one of my, I call them friends. And he's actually a special dude.
Yeah.
But my pet name for him is Gumby. Because, and it's not a disrespectful thing at all. It's kind of, hey,
a term of endearment.
How you going? Yeah. It's like, that's...
I get you, you get me.
Exactly. So, and when we talk about ascension as well, and people go, oh, the tree of life, man. It's got roots. It goes into the ground. So as it's reaching up and ascending, and woo, out we go. You can sort of reverse image. It's doing that under the ground too.
As above, so below.
Exactly.
And you mentioned the tree of life, and I usually say to people, and look it up if you're watching this later on replay, the true tree of life that we talk about. If you look at a placenta after a mother has given birth, you will see pictures, and you can Google it. And when the placenta is actually being just spread on a table, you will see the tree of life.
Yep.
Because it's truly how the baby was actually being fed.
Yep.
Yes? Through that membrane. And the root is that umbilical cord that it was linked to mom. There you have it. That's the tree of life, people. You are. So why are we in such a hurry to get up there when we're still down here?
Yeah, and that's where we came from. We're going back there. Why rush?
And we chose to come back down here because there were lessons that we needed to learn. So you know what? If you are truly ascended, you will still down here for the period that you need to be, and be as happy or as sad as you want to be, but go through the process.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I remember when I was in my near-death experience, and I sort of, I got over there and I said, what on earth was that? I went there to teach peace and love. Like, what did you throw me in the middle of? And they went, well, how can you possibly teach what you have not had to find within yourself? And I went, oh no. And it was like massive realization, and it's like, yeah, hitting you straight in the forehead, isn't it? Because it's like, hey, and choosing to come back, it's like, yeah, I'm going to take this on. I'm going to take the hard knocks with the good stuff, and I'm going to do the best I can with it. That to me is that choice to walk your journey, and it's in that authenticity you can ascend, is to say, all right, well, this is my journey. I'm going to own this, the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'm going to do the very best I can, walking that.
I remember, I understand exactly what you're saying, because I remember being a young child and having an accident, and Archangel Michael talking to me and saying, Raul, don't be frightened. My name is Michael. I'm going to bring a friend, Raphael. We're going to help you. And soon you're going to be able to walk and talk to your mom and tell her to take you to the doctors. And all that happened. And that was me truly allowing my soul to get in touch with them and not putting any barriers, and thinking, okay, I'm going to listen and I'm going to pay attention, but also I'm going to acknowledge that this is not the end. It's only a stumble. And for me to actually hear them clearly as daylight, and to say, okay, fine, I'm going to be in touch with you. And I know throughout my life, many times I shut them off, and they're still there, and I know they're still going, don't think that you shut us off, we're here. We're just letting you be, because it's all about free will that we keep on talking about. But free will, another little phrase that we throw about. But it's about you realizing that, okay, that's what you sign up to do. So you know what, if you sign up on the dotted line, make sure that you read the contract.
Yes. I was actually trying to have a normal life.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, right. And so I think I was 21, and I was walking along, and I'm walking past Safeway, now called Woolworths, and boom, in comes his voice. He's like, Jacqueline, you are on the wrong path. And I went, I'm on the footpath, that's Safeway, I'm going to work. This is not happening, I can't hear you, la 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 la. And he says, I'm going to give you 3 warnings, and you have to get on this path. And I went,
whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, I got to my car, which the windows and doors were all sealed up. Got in, sat down, ow, like this. Very sharp. And I thought, I imagine imagined that. Can you imagine me saying I imagined that? And so I sat down and again, and as I'm getting out, I got another one. So there's the 3. So and I'm getting out of the car. Anyway, so I'm swinging the skirt around, and here's a European wasp, and I'm anaphylactic to European wasps. Way to go! And I'm like getting my shoe and getting this thing off, and it's still going. It's still trying to get me. And anyway, it went on the ground. My shoe went back on. I'm like freaking out, and just then going, okay, got to breathe, got to relax. Let's not freak out. Blood, oxygen. Locked the door. Turned around till I'm going to squish this thing, aren't I? Gone. Couldn't find it. So I walk into the chemist, I tell him what just happened. I said, look, I've just been stung on the butt by a European wasp and I'm anaphylactic. And I said, I've got to go to work. What do I need to just get through my shift? He says, honey, you're not going anywhere.
No. Perhaps to a hospital.
Go to the doctor, across there right now, and I'll be watching. And you go there. And I went, oh, okay. So I get to the doctor. You have to have 3 days off from work. You're going to be lying on your tummy because you're not going to be lying on your backside. That ain't happening. And you're going to need ice and not the drug variety. And so he gave me this script. I had to have 1 tablet 3 times a day, and I had to have 3 days off. And of course, my boss was extremely happy about that. Not. And so here I was having 3 days off with 3 tablets a day, and I
the
sort of
333 was following you.
Yeah, and so I said, all right, I give up. I give up. I'm agreeing to do this, but I just need to work this last year, and that was about the end of my management career at that point. It was back into getting onto this path again, but the more you try and suppress it, the more it comes and gets you.
Yeah, but also what you learned in your management career, there are skills this knowledge that is actually transferable.
Very.
I used to be in hotels, I used to be an academic, and people say, and you do this now? Because everything that I learned got me here.
Fits together.
And it all makes sense. And I cannot really, and neither can you, go back to where we came from.
No.
You can only acknowledge where we came from.
Frodo cannot go back to the Shire.
No.
Sam's happy there.
Yeah,
Frodo
correct.
is not. We are both Frodo. Different
Correct.
versions of Frodo.
Yeah, and so are you. And you need to acknowledge that, and you need to actually wear it like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
And being uncompromisingly you, uniquely you, because then and only then you're going to be able to not only attract people that they will be part of your own little tribe, but also people that they will show you things that you need to learn, and that you're going to be having that exchange of anything, what goes around comes around, and learn from them. And when I'm talking, and I usually say, even when I was a university lecturer, which it was a title that it was given, I couldn't do anything about it. When people ask me, what is it that you do, Raul? My answer wasn't, I'm a university lecturer, although in my business card said that. But I will say, I help people learn.
Exactly.
Because when you put yourself in the helping situation, you are part of the equation. You are not standing up here. And it's not believing your own tale. And we were talking about that before. Acknowledging that perhaps you got a set of skills and knowledge different to somebody else, but so does the other person.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you any different, it doesn't make you any better. It puts you in a really good state to say, let's learn from one another.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you came into my class because I got something to offer, but also you got something to offer in return. And it's when we break down that barrier at an educational level that we're going to be able to ascend. Yes?
Yeah.
As a community, as a society, as a world. Because in the meantime, what we keep on watching on television is people saying, look at me, I made it. Now I'm sitting on the big chair in the big office and I'm telling the world what to do. And that's not the way to go. The way to go is to say, hey, sure, I need to be sitting here, but let's just work on a common ground to achieve the result that we want for the generations that are coming behind us. And the generations that are coming behind us are actually saying, no more, enough is enough.
Yep.
Listen to us. because we got something important to say to you. And those little rainbow warriors are the ones that little by little, they are actually chipping away and stopping. And you were using a phrase that this young lady in America used, I call BS.
Yep.
That she delivered on that speech. And I thought, what about her message? She didn't want to be disrespectful, but also she wanted to be straightforward.
Yep.
And she found her way to actually voice that. And there's nobody that's going to shut that voice. And it's a soul speaking through a very young person, but really wise soul.
Oh, absolutely.
And we need to listen to them.
Like, we look at leadership and we look at leaders in the world, and you know, if you sort of think of a presidential leader, for example, that at the end of going out of office says, and these are the things that I did wrong, and here's what I would have liked to have improved on, you know, people would go, oh, he's weak or she's weak. But actually, no, that's the strength of a leader, is to admit your faults and go, whoa, you know, hey. And actually, that's precisely what George Washington did when he left office. You know, and so it's sort of a real turnaround for what we've got at the moment. But that's the big contrast we've got out there at the moment, is truth versus lies, and then the revolution that can be caused by that, which is where these young people are going, that's enough, buster, you know, it's time to speak up, it's time to call things as we see them, and we're not going to sit here and just put up with the old program anymore. So that's why it's really a good thing.
But we're seeing it in government institutions here in Australia and overseas. We're seeing it in institutionalized religion.
Hello.
And at the moment in Australia, that's a contentious point.
Yep.
We are seeing it in financial institutions, and another contentious point at the moment here in Australia. I was coming to Jacqueline's today, and every single teller machine, bank machine on the street all the way here, machine out of order, out of order, out of order, and people were going in and out of banks. And at the moment, there's a royal commission about banks.
Because banks are out of order.
Yes.
And we sort of think about it as well. Pluto and Capricorn, which is 2008, hello, GFC, right through to 2025, 2026. You know, rules, schools, banking, finance, greed, materialism, or cooperation, the maturing of our society. And also in that, you get the rebellion against, you know, really ridiculous rules. But you also get people thinking they're a bit above the rule of law. And then you get the people who are going to correct that. So it's really interesting, the transactions that are going on around this. And we talk about, you know, the current thing with the law courts around a religious leader. And that started, all of that stuff started coming out when Pluto was in Sagittarius. And Pluto in Sagittarius, well, Sagittarius is international travel, and, you know, right up until 1995 we had that, and that was like a big change in international travel. We look at, you know, death by planes in towers, but we also look at religion. And also in Sagittarius we see the spirit of the law, but in Capricorn we see the rule of law. And so Pluto challenges those things. So when we had 2008 roll around, you could just about tick, 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 boom, there. You could time this down using that movement of the planets and go, oh, here we come, viva la revolution. And so we had Occupy Wall Street, we've had all of this sort of stuff. And we're really looking at our leaders and going, should we leave them in charge and at the wheel without any kind of checks and balances? Or do we need to say, hang on a minute, here's this rule, here's that rule. Are some of our rules ridiculous and needing to be peeled back and pared back? And more about the community taking more action rather than expecting other people to do it for them. You can't be a participant in a democracy unless you're actually participating. You can't be asleep at the wheel of democracy, because that's how autocracies come in. And oligarchs and all this sort of thing. And so it's that, oh, I don't really want to vote, you know, that's a problem. And even the prohibition of certain people from voting based on the fact of, you know, what's happened in their past, or, you know, cultural sort of things, that's a very big problem, because, you know, you've got to watch those sorts of changes in society. And so when we're all spiritual people and we don't want to deal with any of that, hello, wakey wanky, you know, time to
part of a community.
We are part of the community. We've got to be active participants. We've got to look at what the truth is and deal with that, and you know, be able to call that out, because we do deserve the leaders that we elect.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that particularly in Australia, we don't have that choice, if you wish. For us, it's compulsory to vote. And I think that is necessary in order to live up to the expectations of democracy. You need to participate.
There is a reason why one side of politics particularly wants votes to be non-compulsory.
Correct.
And that's because they know the other side of politics will actually go, you know...
They can control it.
Yeah, because then they can control it because their side will vote.
Mm-hmm.
The other side, I don't know, should I vote? I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I buying into this? Whereas if you're made to vote, then everyone has to think about it.
Yes.
Even if they don't think that they're, you know, like some people go, oh, look, it's all rigged anyway. Well,
but you're still making a choice.
You're still got to make a choice.
You're still making a choice. And the issue, and I know that you are probably much better in this topic than I am, but I look at numerology with my limited knowledge. And when we talk about 2018, summing up to a number 11, a master number, when I connect with my angels, they say to me, well, this is opening the floodgates or the gates to the dam and letting the BS all come out in one go.
Oh, yeah.
And suddenly all of this is cropping up. It's like when you are a teenager and suddenly all the pimples are coming up on your face and you need to purge that and you need to actually, it needs to come out and then it will actually get better. So I know that by the end of this year we're going to be in a much better place because it's like truly spring cleaning out your closet, things that you haven't worn for the last 2 years, give it to the salvos, give it to a charity, and that way you're passing it on to somebody that may be able to use that.
Yeah.
But here with all the rubbish, and it happens to both of us, people that we need to let go because no longer we resonate with them and they don't resonate with us. And it's about what I was saying to you yesterday. The message I got was surrender. And surrender to your inner love and light and live in truth, yes, to you. And speak not your truth, but speak the truth.
Oh, gosh, yes.
And that's one of another catchphrase. Oh, you need to speak your truth. Truth should be the same with you and me. Don't give me another version.
That's exactly right.
And that's what we're falling behind because we think that we're spiritual by talking about, oh, speak your truth. No, speak the truth. That's what is important because the truth is the same for all of us, regardless of the level of education, government position, whatever you may be holding out there in the world, the truth is the truth.
And it's the little lies that take you further away from your essence. And so the further someone goes with that, the further they get away from their soul.
Yeah.
And so, you know, sometimes people talk about, oh, that person's a bit of a lost soul. That can be a judgment, but it can actually be also that person just stepped further and further away from that truth.
Yeah.
You know, and there is the truth. There's not an alternative fact here.
No.
You know, you can't make that stuff up, really. But you know, there's so much of that flooding our media at the moment, and that's where some people go, "Oh, that's why I don't watch the media." But I think it's important to watch that and go, "Well, this is what's out there. What are you doing? How are you participating in this? Are you making the decision not to make a decision, which is still a decision, by not participating? Because apathy is still a decision. It's still a position to take. You know, that we talk about ascension, and here we are talking about the blood and guts of society stuff, you know, real structure stuff, you know, whereas ascension, it's, you know, it's force, it's energy.
It's very
very ethereal, and that's very
ethereal.
Uranian. But when we talk form, structure, that's Saturn, and that's you know, that's a Capricorn stuff, and Pluto's in Capricorn. So you know, to ascend, we also have to ground, and this is another part of that grounding is that truth, which can set you free, but it can also set you free of. I don't want to see that, and actually see it and go, oh. And then by finding the faults, you can then deal with them, and then you can also lift out through living more and more truthfully.
Yeah. The issue with ascension is as well that if we're truly going to ascend, yes, the first question when we're ascending is going to be, have you lived your life to your fullest?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you know what? Back you go.
But can't I have another colonic irrigation? Won't that fix it? What if I detox my liver?
Yeah,
Raul?
that's it.
Won't that fix it?
Yeah, liver detox.
Yeah.
And
Liver.
we talk about media just for a moment then, and I'm all for watching and keeping an eye, but also be an educated media watcher.
Yep.
Don't believe everything that is being fed to you.
Yep.
Sometimes I may have a medical issue and I see
Dr. Google.
No, on the news, groundbreaking news. And I remember my thesis supervisor at Melbourne University used to say, research does not break the ground. This groundbreaking research, it doesn't break the ground.
No.
It may be opening up new knowledge, but it doesn't break the ground. So when you see that, analyze, go. For example, they were talking about something medical that I was actually suffering from. And I thought, okay, I'm going to pay attention and see. I could see that it was actually being sensationalized and they were making this huge hoo-ha. But they mentioned that the information came from a research in a German university. So I went to the German university, have a look at the paper and read it. And then I went to my doctor and I said, hey, I saw this on Channel 7, but I've also went to the paper, and she said to me, I've also read that paper.
Yeah.
So what the news were not saying is that the research about that medication, it was truly about 18,000 people big.
Yeah.
And it doesn't give you the breadth of the whole world population.
Yeah.
And the paper was acknowledging that, saying, this is limited research, we're only starting.
Yeah.
But the news grabbed onto that
yeah.
and make it humongous.
Yeah.
People around the world are taking this medication and they're going to die. Well, no, they're not going to. Some people may have some adverse side effects, but the study only showed 18,000 people out of a 7 billion population.
Mm.
And that's when we need to be, and when I talk about education, I'm not talking about you having a degree, I'm talking about you being an educator yourself, finding out. Go Google, but find out where did that information that they were talking on the news came from, and then go further.
I always go to the sources myself. It's so
That's
important.
That's
because
it.
that's where you find out the real facts.
Yes.
And so, the news can often, they slant the agenda. They've been doing this since the media existed. You know, you look back at the 1930s and you go through some of the European newspapers back then, it's kind of frightening as to what was permissible and blown up. And how that feeds a population if the population is not discerning. And so that's why, you know, I mean, sometimes I remember on even like Facebook, I would get, I would write something and I'd use a word, you know, slightly big word. And, oh, Jacqueline, what does that word mean? And I'm thinking, copy, paste, Google. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you got the world's biggest computer here. Stop sending me cat pictures. I mean, the cat pictures are great, by the way, but if you need to know what a kleptocracy and, you know, all these other words and demagogue, you know, you probably just need to Google that. And... you know, because that's where you're going to find it. And you can find it, like even the dictionary, you know, a really good resource. You know, so
good old dictionary.
Good old dictionary. It's very underrated these days. I used to carry one around with me all the time.
Correct.
You know, for good reasons, because I want to expand that vocabulary. You know, never stop learning if you just open yourself to that. It's so important.
But also there's the other slant, and I'm just going to share a story with you and with our listeners. I was on a train the other day from the city of Melbourne going upwards into the northern suburbs. And I was in one of those seats for 4 that you're facing 2 people. And 3 students sat with me, school uniforms from a prominent private school in Melbourne. And they started talking, you know, teenage talk, and you can hear that and you can think, well, yeah, I used to be one of them, and you think that you know it all and you don't really know much. Across the aisle, there were 2 gentlemen that I will describe, and I'm passing a judgment here, and we all judge because you say the day is good, the day is bad, so you're judging. So the gentlemen were a little bit disheveled, they look like they haven't had a bath for a long time, they look like they were high on whatever they were high on. And that's their journey, and I judged that and I thought, yeah, but that's their journey. And one of them was wearing a wind cheetah that it actually said Oxford University. So it became like truly an oxymoron. You look like that, but you have that wind cheetah of Oxford University. And one of the students sitting next to me kind of like mentioned that to the other 2, and they look and they giggle like little girls, and they were boys. And I just thought, okay, I'll let you have it because you will learn somewhere along the line. But this other young guy next to me took his phone out and very, what he thought that it was discreet, started taking pictures of the man looking the way he looked with the Oxford University Wichita. And I've actually just tapped him on the shoulder and I said, have you taken enough pictures of the gentleman? And he looked at me and I said, you know what? I get the oxymoron of why you're taking that picture. And by the way, if you don't know what an oxymoron is, look it up.
Yes.
Because obviously you go to a private school. But by the same token, you're not helping.
Yep.
Because one thing that I will say to you, and look this one up, is compassion.
Yep.
And I left it there because I didn't want to create a situation where this young kid will upset that gentleman and I don't know what reaction he was going to have.
Yeah.
We're on a train.
Yep.
We cannot get out.
That's right.
But by the same token, I couldn't allow this young person to be just taking pictures of somebody that firstly is illegal.
Without permission, yeah.
And secondly, you are doing it out of later on showing it to somebody saying,
spiteful.
Look at this.
Yeah.
And that's
that
not
was going to be on social media.
Correct, and that's not the energy.
No.
And the other two realized that I was polite, but I was dead serious.
Yep.
And they just quiet down, they shut up, and I could see him. I didn't tell him, but I could see him deleting the pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he got the message.
Oh, yeah.
And although we talk about the new generation coming forward and being really responsible and taking social justice to a next level, there's still going to be the ones. Mm-hmm. And believe me, these kids were actually from a private school.
Oh, yeah.
And the parents are sending them, they're paying minimum $10,000 a year to send them to get a private education. And I would like to think that they will probably be disappointed if they were actually witnessing that.
I would like to think that too. I'm not getting that feeling though with that particular kid, but certainly, for the appearances of things, I think they would be. But luckily there are a great many people who do send their kids to that who would be appalled. And there is more and more people who start thinking more consciously of that. There was a time when, for example, intellectually disabled or people with physical disabilities were not actually out in public at all. Mm-hmm. And, I remember being on a bus many years ago. I think I might have been a teenager at the time. And there was this woman on the bus and she had a shaved head and she had great big eyes. And she stood on the bus holding the pole, and she was going to work, and then she was going home to a place of where they were living together. And she stood on the bus for the whole time. The time was just out, and people were laughing and giggling, and I just said, "Look, what's your problem?" But back then, you didn't get exposed to much of that at all, and so it's the other, and we have to watch how we deal with the other in society because that's where we dehumanize, and when we dehumanize, we forget that authenticity, and part of ascension is humanizing people. Saying, "Hey, I'm going to see this from where you're at." As well, not just from where I'm at, and checking our privilege at the door.
To me, particularly with these students on the train, it was about highlighting that sometimes the best education in the world doesn't actually buy you knowledge, and it doesn't take you away from being ignorant. Because the behavior that this young kid was showing, it was ignorance. That idea that he didn't understand, but he thought, well, I'm going to a private school and I'm it.
Yeah, but there's also that thing of what we relate to.
Oh, yes.
And so he had trouble relating. And so, like, even my work as a psychic all this time, I will still get people who ridicule or fear me because they don't understand. Correct. And so he didn't understand this other guy.
No.
And so he's gone the ridicule angle because other people will see someone in that condition and go, oh, we better stay away from them, they could be dangerous because they're fearing. So it's fear ignorance. So, the more we can sort of go, hang on, this is a human being here. They're going through their journey. And, okay, I can see that they might be, on something or whatever, but, I'm okay.
Yeah. To me, when I saw actually that Wichita with Oxford University, it was immediately what I thought was the gentleman was suffering for whatever he was suffering through, but the soul was saying, you are much more than this.
Oh, yeah.
And if you really get yourself back together, you could be at Oxford University. Because there's nothing stopping you.
Yep.
And that was the message of that Wind Cheetah Awards. It was dirty and all of that, but the message was so loud and clear. Unfortunately, the soul made him pick up that Wind Cheetah to give him the message, but he was not in a mental space to read it.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
And to me, it was a beautiful message that I thought, oh my goodness.
But maybe also in that situation, he was the teacher.
But have a look.
Yeah.
He
was the teacher.
The classroom happened in about 1 minute.
Yep, that's right. Because some of the most important things we learn in life are not in the school. They're sometimes on the train.
Yeah.
With some guy sitting next to you, and you've taken the photos and he's going, hey there. And you've got the Oxford school teacher over there that's slumped in the corner. And, here it is. Here's the lesson. Yeah,
and it was a brilliant lesson that I know that these 3 young boys will always remember. They may not acknowledge to one another.
And did this guy in the Oxford school jumper, on some level, get drawn into that train for that to happen?
Correct. Just to bring the lesson in.
Yeah, who's the ascended master?
I remember years ago, I was walking around Melbourne, and there was this dear old lady dressed in black, and asking for some help and a coin or whatever it was, and she was going from person to person. I could see her coming up the street. I was going down Russell Street, and everybody was sort of like, no. Yeah. And I remember my late grandmother used to say, Raul, always give to somebody that it resonates with you, but sometimes give to somebody that is doing something about it. But if there's somebody old, be kind.
Yes.
Because you never know what's going to happen to you when you're old. And I remember that. And she was going to walk past me because she thought you're one more that is going to say no to me. And I said, excuse me, can I just give you this? And I gave her a couple of dollars. And she said to me, she grabbed my hands and said, thank you. You're going to have a long life and you're going to be so, so happy. And she kept on walking, and I'm getting the goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because as I turned around to look again, she wasn't there anymore.
Of course not.
She was not there anymore. And I just thought, thank you.
That's right. Yeah.
Talk about the lesson.
Hello.
And talk about reminding me, my grandma saying, be kind to elderly people because you never know.
Never know who they are either.
And there she was. Tiny, little, black. And people were scared of her. And to me, it was sort of like, oh no, I'm just going to give you a hand. You're asking for a little coin and I'm going to give you a little coin.
Yes, no, she's Kronos. Kronos embodied in a person. It's like Hecate too, actually.
Yeah, embodied Kronos time.
Yeah, that's right.
The right time.
That's right.
And it was incredible because it took me 2 seconds to turn around.
Yep.
Gone.
No, when they've got a message, they do that.
But it could have been, like I always say, that you don't pay attention, and she could have walked past. Because she wasn't going to approach me. She approached everybody else. And she was gone, and I said, no, excuse me. Never forgotten. An amazing message, an amazing lesson. But also I see somewhere people that they are on the streets and they're just purely collecting money.
Yep.
And you can see those as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you can let them go.
It's about discernment, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's not a judgment so much as an assessment. And, we could look up the thesaurus and probably put them in the same category, but, you're assessing what feels right to you.
Yes.
And that's okay.
The issue is, and I hold that dear to my heart, always help somebody that they're willing to help themselves.
Yeah.
You may be driving and you stop at the traffic lights and somebody's juggling or somebody's cleaning your windscreen. And I was with a friend and I could see this man as well, perhaps disheveled, but it was cleaning windscreen. And I said to my friend Laura, and I said, here, give it to $2, but tell him not to touch your windscreen because it's clean.
Yeah.
Just Say
Yep.
thank you for doing what you're doing. You are not just asking for a handout, you're doing something about it. And that to me is quite important, that you are, money is a source of energy and what goes around comes around.
That's right.
When you're truly begging just for the sake of begging, you're not giving something in return.
Yep.
Yes? And that dear old lady, she wasn't begging, she was trying to give a message in return that people were not willing or ready to listen.
Yep.
And when I stopped and I listened, she gave it to me. So, on that note, we are coming to an end of another beautiful enlightened conversation with my dear friend Jacquelene Close-Moore. And I would like to take this opportunity not only to thank you, Jacquelene, for participating once again,
Thank you.
and to also thank our dear sponsors, Lightworker Foundation and White Light Publishing House, for making this show a reality for the two of us and for all of you out there that will watch later on replay. Until we see you next time, as I always say, remember, believe in angels because they do believe in you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raul.
Bye for now.